Alright, let's get nerdy. Still waiting on my load, so I brought up the 4% rule. Bankett, he was a investor, but he was also a professor. I didn't find that information. I had to Google because I couldn't remember how he spelled his name. I thought there was a K in there, but it's Bankett, B-E-N-G-E-N. He came up with this in the 90s as a way for retirees to make sure they didn't run out of money before they ran out of time. He actually favored a 5% rule. That doesn't ever get mentioned. And I knew that, but I'm a nerd and I look this kind of crap up. Fire movement latched on to the 4% rule because it was a worst case scenario. And they latched on to it because they were going to retire in their 40s. But here's what people forget about the fire movement. If you retire in your 40s, your Social Security is crap. I'm sure they get some because they did work some years. But I would love to see, and maybe I should have looked that up, what the Social Security rate for people retiring before 40 is when they hit 62. If they did make $1 million, whatever. It'd be curious to see. So anyway, the 4% rule basically is this: that if you have $1 million, we'll just use that. Use $1 million. It's easier to use. It's a nice round number. If you got $1 million, you withdraw 4%. That's $40,000. You can do that each year. You don't adjust it. If the market's down and your money drops to $500,000, you're still just pulling out that 4% original number. Some say that. Some say to adjust with it. I don't know. I always kind of wondered about that because I've heard of guys running out of money. Why are they withdrawing when they're down to $100,000? What's 4% of $100,000? $4,000? No, I think some of the information I got was bad. I'm pretty sure the 4% rule was adjusted for inflation. And the idea was to keep the nest egg solid, not spend it down. But I don't know. It seems like a lot of work to overcomplicate your life. I think any of these rules are actually kind of silly. There's also a 7% rule. 7% rule is that you're safe to withdraw 7% adjusted for inflation. And I think once you're retired, I can actually see that working. How long is retirement? Most people have their fortune saved for retirement. They can sell their home. They can sell their vehicles. Your net worth isn't just in what you have saved. You have value in assets. So I think you could get away with even higher. I know Dave Ramsey talks about the 10% rule. Good luck with that one. I'm not even going to open that can of worms, but here's my thoughts on it, and I am obsessed about this. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to do. That may change because every time I learn something new, the chili recipe changes just a little bit. But what I have planned is this. I've actually said this before, and it hasn't changed. My plan is to have X amount in retirement savings only. X amount in cash. That might be in CDs. It might just be in a high interest savings. Probably won't be a brick and mortar place, but you can get 4.5-5% yield cash savings that you can withdraw on. So that does work, and that keeps up with inflation. It was actually making money over the last year. Have money in that, and how much money? I figure at least 3 times my annual necessary income, not annual desired income, annual necessary income. I've said before that we need about $3,000 a month, and I kind of figure bloat that just a little bit This is before Social Security now. This is before I turned 70. This will be like if I decided to retire at 62, 63, 64, somewhere in there. I would have this cash bridge, I call it, made with three years worth of survival money, basically. And so if we need 3,000, I'd probably take that times 1.5. Probably do 4,500 times 12. I mean, you're looking at $54,000 a year. So you'd want a little over $150,000, $160,000 in some sort of cash, some sort of liquid cash where you can get this. Not gold buried in the basement, nothing like that. Just cash. And my recipe is if I had, let's say, I have $1 million. I keep my eye on the stock market. I can tell you what my investments have done today. I can tell you what my investments did yesterday. I keep my finger on that pulse because it's important to me, and I'm a freaking nerd. But the premise of your money running out and having to have a percent is for people who aren't nerds, but also people who aren't in touch with what they have. If you're a robotic type person that just needs that recipe of get up, do this, do that, just like that military type, just discipline, the 4% rule is probably for you. But if you're the type that can wake up and go, is it raining? No, I guess I won't need an umbrella today. Is wind blowing? No, I guess I won't need a windbreaker today. Sunny? I guess I'll need my sunglasses today. Do I got to go further than 100 feet? I guess I better get the car out. You actually can make decisions for yourself. If you're in a year like 2022, don't draw any freaking money. Okay? You're like late 2020, don't draw any freaking money. Years like 2016 and up, yeah, you go ahead and take your money out. Year like we're having right now, 2025, early 2025, yeah. If I was retired right now, I'd have no problem pulling 10% out. I said 10. Okay? Why 10? Say you have $1 million and you pull 10% out and you do it out of a bucket strategy, which I'll go into a bucket strategy later maybe. Do it out of a bucket strategy, you're going to have some taxable, some not, and you basically structure that withdrawal so that you're paying the least amount of taxes. You get there's tax deductions you get to take right off the bat anyway. You got your standard deductions for you and your spouse, whatever else. I mean, you can whittle that down where you pay very little taxes, take a little bit out of Roth, whatever. Take it out, and on a year where you know you're not going to need that much money, you don't need $100,000. Let's say you only need, okay, what I just say was surviving on, what I come to $54,000 a year. Let's say you're very happy with $75,000 a year, taking trips and stuff. So $25,000 of that you put over there in that bridge account. So now instead of having $160,000 there, you got $185,000. Taxes are paid on it. Now it may sit there and grow. You have to pay taxes on that, but it's sitting there. It's in cash, and you go through the whole year 2025. 2025 is doing good. Your money makes 12%. So the 10% that you withdrew didn't really hurt it. But 12% filled it right back up. Okay? Because you have to have, if you deduct money, you have to have more of a return coming back. I don't know if you know that. It's complicated. If you have $1 million and you pull out 20%, that leaves you $800,000. For $800,000 to get back to $100,000, you need a 25% gain. If that makes sense. 25% of 80 is 20,000 or 200,000. That's what you withdrew, right? Because that was your 20%. But I would need a 25% return to recoup the losses. So what I'm saying is, if you have a good year where it's 12 to 14% and all you pulled out was 10%, you recouped your losses. So now you get to 2026. 2026 is pretty good. Do the same thing. Block that 100,000, pop 25,000 over your cash. Now you've got a real stable $200,000 plus bridge. Year goes by, makes 12%, 14%, recoups it. Along comes 2027, and bam! 20% loss in the stock market, 25%. Bad, real bad. Well, guess what? Time to pull our 60,000 out of our cash reserves. Live on that for a year. 2028 rolls along. Bam! Record back-to-back bear years, bear market years. Cash reserves. Live on that. What happens after a bear market? A bull market. They call them U-shaped and V-shaped recoveries. We've experienced a couple of V-shaped recoveries right after COVID, and then here at the end of 2024, had a V-shaped recovery. Shot up like a rocket. And if you're paying attention to that, we're not talking about timing the market. You're not trying to nail down a date, but at the very least, nail down a season, nail down a month. You may miss it by a few days. But if you see that the market's up like it's up right now, I mean, it's down a little bit yesterday, but not much. If the market's moving around a little bit, wait. Give it a day or two. If it goes back up, make your pull. A week later, it shoots up again. Don't touch it. Don't try to reinvest. Don't mess around. You already pulled your money out. Leave it alone. Don't even look at it. Next year around that time when you can pull out again, start paying attention to it again. If it's a good time to pull some out, pull it out. If it's bad, don't. You pulled out that extra money. You pulled out that 10%. You're not needing it. You're not hurt. And this is only to survive until you get to Social Security. Because once you get to Social Security, if you've done your planning right, your Social Security is going to become part of your spending now. So it's another thing that 4%ers they don't really think about. You never hear about it, I guess. Everybody sleeps on Social Security. Everybody thinks it's going away. It's not going away. It's not going away. Social Security, when they talk about it depleting in 2034 or whatever, they're talking about the Social Security Trust Fund, which makes up only 25% of Social Security. I know I said that fast, but what I'm saying is if you currently get a $2,000 check and it stays exactly the same until 2034, and all of a sudden the Social Security Trust Fund, not Social Security, I know it's called the pool, but the Social Security Trust Fund, it runs out. Nobody's done anything. Your next check's going to be $1,500. You still get a check. Yeah, it's $500 less, so yeah, it's a big problem, but it didn't run out. It's still there. It's just less now. Now, who wants to be the president that goes in there and F's this up and doesn't fix it? If this administration doesn't fix it, we'll be getting to 2028, the next election. Closing in, right? Next election, whoever wins president, 2034 or 2032. Whoever gets elected in 2032, if Social Security ain't fixed by then, they'll be the ones. That'll be the term you'll see it get fixed. Because that president will not want to be remembered as the one that failed Social Security and screwed everything up. Learn more about your business. This is your ship. You're the captain. You gotta learn this stuff. Don't be getting scared of it. I mean, you can go on YouTube and learn stuff, but man, I see so much clickbait on YouTube that it's just scares. Social Security gonna run out, so everybody's trying to scare everybody. I mean, it's all clickbait just to get views. Educate yourself. Get out there and figure out what they're talking about. When they talk about Social Security running out, look what they're talking about. 4% rule. Figure out what they're talking about. And the more you know, the more comfortable you get with it. The more you realize, well, if I got $1 million. Pull out 40,000. The market goes up 22% that year. Why did I pull out 4%? Why shouldn't I have pulled out a little more and stockpiled that cash? That's a common sense question. Or you're a 4% person and it's $1 million and the stock market drops 40%. Okay, now you got a $600 nest egg. You got to pull 40% off of that. Get your $24,000. barely going to let you survive and really wreck your $600,000 nest egg that's already hurting? That seems like a terrible plan. No, it's just educate yourself. If you don't have any money in your wallet, you can't spend any money. Your retirement's the same way. You got to look at it like your wallet. If there's an abundance of cash, you can spend a little more. Just don't spend all of it. If you're down on cash, tighten it up a little bit. Educate yourself. Start today.